Imagine a boardroom where key decisions were made in private chats outside formal record keeping systems, with no guarantee that future investigators, auditors, journalists, colleagues or successors could ever see how those decisions were made. Most shareholders would consider that reckless. Yet over the last decade, governments across the democratic world have increasingly conducted official business through WhatsApp, Signal and other private messaging platforms. The UK's COVID inquiry exposed just how widespread the practice became during the pandemic. Separate controversies involving politicians, advisors and party officials have repeatedly raised questions about deleted messages, missing records, informal communications. This issue is bigger than any one politician. The real question is whether modern government can remain accountable when official business migrates onto platforms that were simply not designed for public administration. So the rise of WhatsApp government may be undermining transparency, institutional effectiveness and trust. Government communication has always evolved alongside technology. Cabinet ministers once relied on handwritten notes, official memos and formal correspondence. Then they had telephones, email, video conferencing, and each innovation made government faster, and obviously that means better. But it created new challenges for record keeping and accountability. And let's face it, politicians love to avoid accountability. It allows ministers and advisors to communicate instantly. During emergencies, rapid communication can be invaluable. Supporters might argue that modern government can't function unless every action slowed down by bureaucratic procedures. Few voters would want ministers waiting days for formal paperwork during a crisis. Yet efficiency and accountability can be in tension. And the more informal communications become, the harder it is to establish who said what, who made decisions, why those decisions were made and taken. The COVID inquiry showed just how informal some of those conversations were. The correspondence with Peter Mandelson showed just how embarrassing those can be. And official submissions are normally drafted carefully. Minutes are recorded, advice is documented. Private messaging platforms create a completely different environment. Conversations are casual, language is unrestrained, words that you wouldn't normally say in a meeting, and I probably can't say in a YouTube video without being demonetised, are thrown around like candy. This informality doesn't necessarily produce worse decisions, but it does seem to produce poorer decision-making processes. And where's the record preservation? There's an accountability depending on records. Parliamentary scrutiny, judicial review, public inquiries, freedom of information requests. Even 70 years' time they release some of the papers. Well, as we've seen in Westminster, in Holyrood, with this latest set of issues with Peter Mandelson, messages can be deleted, phones can be replaced. You could be standing in the street with a phone the day before you're going to get asked for it, and someone runs past and grabs it out of your hand. And there goes the record. Or you could turn on auto-delete and make sure you have no messages at all. This undermines not just transparency but institutional memory. We've all been in a meeting where people have said, "So who made that decision?" and scratched their head. Well, WhatsApp is allowing politicians to ensure that we scratch our heads. There's also a cultural issue. Private messaging encourages informal networks, and politics has always been full of back-scratching cliques who look after each other. You only need to look to Peter Mandelson's success, let alone the inquiry into his behaviour, to realise this is second nature to politicians. So hand them a mechanism for informal chat and it's where all the decisions are made. This informal decision making undermines procedures, accountability, and constitutional norms. And the issues extend far beyond a pandemic. Whenever investigators encounter missing messages, deleted conversations, incomplete records, public confidence suffers. Someone nicks your phone and half the people in the country doubt you. Messages can just disappear for entirely innocent reasons. Phones break. Peter Mandelson's friends hack your phone when you go to their country. Devices get replaced. You can just be really unlucky. Users change settings. Retention policies are unclear. Accountability systems can't depend solely on trust. They depend on verifiable evidence. A system that relies upon perfect behaviour by politicians is a system that's not robust. Good governance assumes mistakes occur and designs safeguards accordingly. So what are these safeguards? There have to be some changes, there have to be some procedures, there has to be retention requirements that you can't just auto-delete your entire workload, and you can't make major decisions in what is effectively an offline stream. And when a lot of your politicians live in London, which is pretty much the phone theft capital of Europe, you need to be very careful about how those phones are backed up and that they even know how to report a theft. People will always use convenient technologies. The challenge is ensuring institutions remain transparent, and it doesn't feel like they are at the moment. It's not one political party, it's not even just Westminster. It seems to be spread across all levels of government in the UK. Every level we can be bothered to ask for their messages, half of them have disappeared and half of them are embarrassing. Democracy requires accountability. It requires institutions that can withstand scrutiny long after the messages have disappeared, because in a democracy, public decisions ultimately belong to the public. And if citizens cannot see how those decisions were made, it becomes hard to believe they were made in our interests.